The stars above were silent. Eli Ward sat in the pilot's seat, gripping the handles as warning lights blinked red all over the ship's control panel. Smoke hissed from the side vents. His cargo vessel, the Starlight Mule, was no longer flying. It was falling. "Come on, stay with me," Eli muttered to the ship as if it could hear him. An asteroid had struck one of the rear engines while he was passing through Sector 7G. His emergency signals weren't working. The ship's AI had shut down. He was completely alone in unknown space, heading toward a small planet below. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, the nose caught in a fast spin. Eli braced himself. Heat shields glowed orange. The sky turned from black to blue, then green. Mountains, cliffs, and dense alien forests rushed up to meet him. Then the crash. The sound was deafening. Metal scraping, bones shaking, systems exploding. Everything went black. Eli opened his eyes slowly. His head throbbed. Alarms were still going off. Outside the cracked window, he saw giant red trees and violet mist. The air filters were working, but barely. He quickly checked the ship's condition. The engine was destroyed. Power was low. The communication system was broken. He was stuck. After 2 hours of work, Eli confirmed what he feared. Without help, he would die here. He strapped on his emergency pack, grabbed a small pulse torch, and stepped out of the ship. The planet was quiet. The air smelled like smoke and wildflowers. Strange bird-like creatures flew across the sky. The forest around him was colorful, but felt heavy with silence. His boots crunched softly on the red leaves below. Eli moved carefully. He followed a stream, hoping to find water or something useful. His scanner beeped weakly. There were no human life signs, but something else was nearby. A structure. Artificial. Hidden. As he moved closer, he spotted it. A large stone tower half covered in vines, carved into a cliff wall. The scanner said the material was unknown, but very old. He raised his torch and stepped toward the entrance. Suddenly, he heard a sound, soft but firm. "Stop right there, human." Eli froze. A figure stood in the shadows. As she stepped forward, he saw her clearly. She was tall, with silver-blue skin that shimmered under the sunlight. Her eyes were bright amber, glowing slightly. Her black hair was tied back with metal rings. She wore armor made of woven crystal and leather. She looked strong and calm. "I don't mean harm," Eli said, holding up his hands. She tilted her head. "You are not supposed to be here. This place is forbidden to outsiders. I crashed. My ship is damaged. I have no way to contact anyone." She studied him in silence for a moment, then said, "Follow me." Inside the cliff structure, Eli saw glowing stones, machines built into the walls, and strange symbols painted in soft gold. It felt ancient but still alive. The air was warm and dry. The alien woman led him to a small room with a table and strange lights above. "You may sit," she said. He nodded. "Thank you. I'm Eli Ward, from Earth." "I know what Earth is," she replied calmly. "My name is Kalara. I am the last of the Cliffborn. My people once lived here." Eli's eyes widened. "I thought the Cliffborn were extinct." "They are. I survived." Her voice didn't shake. She seemed used to telling this story. He looked down. "I'm sorry." Kalara looked at him, then at the cracked screen on his suit. "Your systems are failing. Your ship cannot fly." "No," Eli agreed. "I need help. I'm an engineer. I can fix many things, but this is too much." She stood and crossed her arms. "I can repair your ship." His eyes lit up. "Really?" "But," she said slowly, "I need something from you." Eli blinked. "What do you need?" She walked to a shelf and picked up a small round object. It looked like a music speaker. "I want your Earth songs, your melodies, your sound memories." Eli raised an eyebrow. "Music?" "Yes," Kalara said. her voice softer now. My people had music once. A war took it from us. I remember nothing. I want to hear it again. I want to feel it. Eli smiled. That's easy. I have a full library in my ship's archive. Thousands of songs. She nodded. Then I will fix your ship. In return, you give me music. For the first time since the crash, Eli felt hope rise in his chest. He extended his hand. She looked at it, then slowly shook it. It was a deal. Eli followed Kalara down a long hallway, deeper into the ancient cliff structure. The walls glowed faintly with soft blue light. Strange symbols ran across the surface like gentle rivers. Eli had never seen such a mix of nature and technology. It was beautiful and quiet, almost like the place was breathing. Kalara stopped near a round door. She touched her hand to a panel, and the door opened with a soft hum. Inside was a large chamber filled with machines. Some floated, some rotated, and others blinked softly like stars. This is my workroom, she said. Your ship needs more than just fuel. Its systems are broken. It will take time. Eli walked forward slowly. This tech, it's far beyond anything I've seen. You built all this. Kalara nodded. I repaired most of it. Some were made by my ancestors. I only know how to keep them alive. Eli moved closer to a console. If I help, it might go faster. She looked at him thoughtfully. Do you understand alien tech? I understand machines, Eli said with a small grin. Doesn't matter what language they speak. Kalara raised an eyebrow, then gave a small nod. We shall see. Back at the crash site, Eli led Kalara to the Starlight Mule. The ship was bent, bruised, and half buried in alien vines. Kalara placed her hand on the hull and closed her eyes. It has strong bones, she said. I can fix it. Eli entered the ship and powered up what little was left. The archive drive was still intact. He connected it to a portable core and brought it outside. This, he said, is Earth music. Every style, every age, thousands of songs. Kalara held the device in her hands like it was treasure. How do I hear them? Eli smiled. Let me show you. He connected a small speaker to the core and pressed play. The first song was soft and slow, an old piano piece from Earth's past. The notes drifted into the air like light feathers. Kalara stood still, her eyes closed, her hands shook slightly. The music filled the quiet space between them. I've never heard anything like this, she whispered. It's alive. That's what music is, Eli said. It speaks to the heart, not just the ears. Kalara sat down beside the speaker. She listened to one song after another, joyful tunes, sad ballads, fast rhythms, and peaceful harmonies. Each sound seemed to open something inside her. My people once had songs, she said quietly. But during the Silence War, all sound culture was lost. Instruments were destroyed. Music became forbidden. Eli sat down near her. That's awful. Kalara nodded. We were taught only function and logic. Feeling was weakness. But music, it makes me feel everything again. Eli looked at her with respect. You deserve to feel. They sat there for hours. Eli played music, and Kalara listened like each note was a piece of her past being returned. When the stars came out, she finally stood. Tomorrow, she said, I begin repairs. The next morning, Kalara showed Eli the tools she would use. She moved with precision, opening ship panels and scanning circuits. Eli assisted where he could, using basic tools and adapting human tech to match hers. You're fast, Eli said, impressed. I've had many years alone, she replied, tapping into the ship's damaged power lines. As they worked, Eli explained more about music. He told her about concerts, instruments, and the way Earth used sound for celebration, healing, and storytelling. Kalara asked many questions. She was curious, more than he expected. Later, he gave her a portable synthesizer he built from spare parts. It had keys, buttons, and a simple interface. "This is for you," Eli said. "You can make your own music." Kalara touched it carefully. "You built this for me." Eli shrugged. "Call it a gift." She pressed a few buttons, and a soft chime echoed through the room. Her fingers moved slowly at first, but she quickly found a rhythm. Her first song was short and uneven, but her smile was real. "I will learn," she said with pride. That night, Kalara took Eli to the top of the cliffs. From there, the stars stretched across the sky in a brilliant curtain. Below, the glowing forest shimmered like waves in the wind. "This place was once a home," she said. "Now it is only memory." "But memories can become songs," Eli said. She looked at him. "You think humans and Cliffborn can share a future?" "If we start with respect," he answered, "maybe even friendship." Kalara nodded slowly. "Then maybe we can build more than ships." The next few days passed in a blur of work and music. Eli and Kalara spent long hours together, fixing the Starlight Mule and sharing stories. Each time Kalara worked on a new piece of the ship, Eli marveled at how easily she handled the alien technology. Her hands moved swiftly over circuits, wires, and alien interfaces, and yet there was a calmness in her actions, a quiet confidence. They often took breaks to listen to music, as Kalara had begun experimenting with the synthesizer Eli had given her. At first, her attempts were tentative, simple, halting melodies that carried an almost melancholic tone. But with each passing day, her skills grew. She added layers to the sound, mixing different beats and instruments, creating tunes that felt more alive. "You're getting better," Eli said one evening, as Kalara played a piece that seemed to echo through the cliffs. "I've never felt anything like this before," she replied softly, eyes closed, her hands moving with more confidence over the synthesizer. "Music is like breathing. I never knew what I was missing." Eli smiled and leaned back against the ship's hull. "Music is the language of the heart. It's what connects us, even across space." Kalara paused for a moment, then glanced over at him. "You're not just fixing a ship, are you?" Eli's eyes met hers. "I'm not just fixing a ship, Kalara. I'm learning from you. You've shown me a whole new way of seeing the world, the way your people use music. It's different from anything I've known. It's beautiful." Her amber eyes softened, and she gave a slight nod. "And I have learned from you. Your species has so much to offer. There is a depth to your history, to the way you embrace emotion, that I could never have imagined." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the wind in the trees and the faint hum of the ship's systems as Kalara continued to repair it. There was something unspoken between them now, an understanding that went beyond words. A few days later, the ship was almost ready. The engine was fixed, the power systems were running again, and the communication array was operational. But there was one last thing to do: check the ship's shields. Eli and Kalara had to climb into the outer parts of the ship, where the hull had taken the worst damage during the crash. The climb up was difficult, but they managed. Eli steadied himself on a metal beam as Kalara climbed onto a ledge above him. She extended a hand to help him up, and he took it. There was a quiet strength in the way she pulled him up, as if she had done this many times before. As they reached the damaged section of the ship, Eli marveled at Kalara's skill. She moved with grace and confidence, using her knowledge of alien technology to fix the shields while explaining how each system worked. Eli listened, fascinated by her intelligence and calmness under pressure. "Do you ever get scared?" he asked, as she worked on a shield panel. She paused for a moment, then turned to him. "Fear is not a luxury my people can afford. We survived by focusing on what must be done, not on the emotions that might hold us back." Eli nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He couldn't imagine living in such a way, but he respected her resilience. They worked together in silence for a while longer. Finally, the last of the repairs was complete. The ship hummed back to life as Kalara stepped away from the panel. "It is finished," she said. Your ship is now ready." Eli turned and looked at her, a mix of gratitude and awe in his eyes. "I don't know how to thank you," he said softly. Kalara smiled, a rare, gentle expression. "There is no need. You've already given me more than I ever expected. The music, the friendship. I never imagined I would find these things again." Eli reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've saved my life, Kalara. I won't forget this." She met his gaze, and for a moment, they stood there, understanding one another without needing to speak. The bond between them had grown in ways neither of them had expected, through shared work, shared moments, and shared music. In the silence, they realized that their connection had become something more than just an engineer and a survivor. That night, as they watched the stars together, Kalara said something that Eli would never forget. "There is a place," she said, her voice soft in the quiet of the night, "where my people once sang. It was called the Harmonic City. I want to go there. If we can find it, maybe we can bring back the songs of my ancestors." Eli looked at her, the weight of her words sinking in. "You really believe it's out there?" "I have too," Kalara said, her eyes filled with both hope and sorrow. "I've searched my whole life for it. I think it's out there somewhere, waiting for us." Eli looked out at the endless expanse of stars. "I'll help you find it, Kalara. Together, we'll find the Harmonic City." She smiled softly. "Thank you, Eli. With you by my side, I believe we can." The next morning, Eli and Kalara stood together at the edge of the cliff, looking out over the vast valley below. Their ship, the Starlight Mule, was fully repaired, but they both knew that there was still much to be done. Kalara's dream of finding the Harmonic City was alive, but they had no map, no real clues, only fragments of old stories passed down through her people. "We have to go beyond the forests," Kalara said, her gaze focused on the mountains in the distance. The city was said to be hidden in the highlands. If it still exists, it's there. Eli looked at her, sensing the deep longing in her voice. He had seen this determination before, this drive to uncover something ancient and forgotten. "Then we'll go," he said. "We'll find it. Together." They returned to the ship and began preparing for their journey. Eli was familiar with space travel, but the terrain on this planet was still a mystery. He was unsure of what to expect. Kalara assured him that her species had mapped the stars for centuries, but the landscapes below remained unpredictable. As they packed their supplies, a sudden shift in the air caught Eli's attention. The sky, which had been clear moments ago, was now filled with dark clouds, swirling rapidly. He frowned and glanced at Kalara, who stood still, her eyes narrowed in concentration. "There's a storm coming," she said quietly. "We must leave now." Eli didn't argue. He knew better than to question her instincts. They boarded the ship, and Kalara quickly powered up the engines. The ship hummed to life as they lifted off, heading toward the distant mountains. As they flew, the storm seemed to grow stronger. The sky darkened, and bolts of lightning cracked through the clouds, lighting up the darkened world below. Eli tightened his grip on the control panel, the turbulence making the ship shake and sway. But Kalara remained calm, her eyes focused on the path ahead. "We need to reach higher ground," she said, her voice steady despite the storm's intensity. Eli nodded, adjusting the ship's altitude. He could feel the wind outside buffeting the hull, but Kalara's guidance kept him on course. It was clear that the storm wasn't a natural phenomenon. There was something else at play here, something beyond the planet's usual weather patterns. As they approached the highlands, the storm suddenly intensified. A flash of light exploded across the sky, and the ship's navigation system flickered. A warning light blinked on the dashboard. "Something's wrong," Eli said, his voice tense. Kalara's eyes widened. "We're being tracked." Eli turned to her, alarmed. "What? By who?" Kalara's face was grim. "I don't know, but it's not the storm. It's something else, someone else." The ship shook again, and the warning light flashed more urgently. A series of beeping sounds echoed through the cabin as the ship's shields began to fail. "Hold on," Eli shouted, his hands flying across the controls as he fought to keep the ship steady. Kalara moved to the communication panel, her fingers dancing over the keys as she tried to get a fix on the source of the interference. But the storm was making everything more difficult, and the signal was growing weaker. "We need to find shelter," she said, her voice sharp. "Now." Eli didn't need to be told twice. He scanned the terrain below, hoping to find some sort of cover from the chaos above. His eyes caught sight of a cave nestled within a cliffside, partially hidden by the trees. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. "Straight ahead," he said, pointing toward the cave. Kalara nodded and steered the ship toward the small opening. The ship's engines roared as they descended rapidly, the storm's violent winds pushing them downward. The cave grew closer, and Eli's heart raced. They were almost there. With a final burst of effort, Kalara brought the ship into the cave, landing it as gently as possible considering the storm outside. The engines powered down, and the eerie silence of the caves settled around them. With that, Eli threw the ship into a steep dive, heading toward the mountains below. The ship's engines roared as they descended rapidly, skimming through narrow passes and avoiding the towering cliffs. The ship shook violently, the storm outside making the air turbulence even worse. "They're still tracking us," Kalara said. "I don't know for how long we can keep this up." Eli gritted his teeth, pulling the ship around a sharp bend in the mountain. "Just a little farther. I think I can lose them in the valley." The ship's systems blinked erratically, warning lights flashing in rapid succession. The turbulence made it harder to control, but Eli's determination kept him focused. He wasn't about to let Kalara down now, not when they were so close to the answers they both needed. Suddenly, a crackling sound came over the comms, followed by a harsh voice. "Kalara," the voice said, cold and menacing. "You can't run forever. We will find you." Eli's blood ran cold. The voice was unfamiliar, nothing like the voices of any human he'd ever heard. But it wasn't just the voice that chilled him. It was the calm, calculating tone. Whoever this was, they weren't just looking for Kalara. They were hunting her. "You have nowhere to hide," the voice continued. "Give up, and we will spare your life. Continue to resist, and you will regret it." Kalara's face tightened, her eyes hard. "They know where we are," she said quietly, almost to herself. "This isn't about the Harmonic City anymore. They're after me. After what I know." Eli glanced at her, confused. "What do they want from you?" "They want to control what my people left behind," Kalara said, her voice barely a whisper. "The Harmonic City is more than just a place. It holds knowledge, technology, that could change the balance of power across the stars. If they get to it before we do, it will mean the end of everything." Eli didn't need to ask any more questions. He understood now. They weren't just on a quest for knowledge. They were racing against time, against a hidden enemy that wanted to take control of something ancient and powerful. But as the valley drew closer, so did their pursuers. It wasn't over yet. The chase was far from finished. Eli's heart pounded in his chest as he fought to control the ship. The mountains stretched out before them, a labyrinth of jagged peaks and hidden valleys. His hands gripped the controls as he guided the ship through a narrow gap between two towering cliffs. Behind them, the mysterious force pursuing them seemed relentless, their signal growing stronger with each passing second. "We need to lose them," Eli muttered, his eyes scanning the valley below for a place to hide. Kalara was focused, her mind working quickly. "There's an old cavern system nearby," she said, her voice steady despite the urgency. "It's not far from here. We can take cover there." Eli didn't hesitate. He veered the ship sharply, aiming for the cavern Kalara had mentioned. The ship shuddered again as a pulse of energy from behind them hit the hull. The power flickered for a moment, and Eli's stomach dropped. "Hang on," Eli shouted, pushing the ship forward with all the speed he could muster. Kaylara glanced over at him, her expression serious. The shields won't hold much longer if we keep taking hits like that. Eli gritted his teeth. We'll make it to the cavern, just a little farther. The wind howled outside, and the ship's hull groaned under the pressure. It was only a matter of time before their enemies found them. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast. As they neared the cavern, Eli spotted a dark opening ahead, hidden among the rocks. He turned the ship toward it, banking hard to the left. They shot into the mouth of the cavern just as another pulse of energy hit the shields. This time, the shields flickered and went out completely, leaving them vulnerable. The cavern was narrow, but long enough to provide some cover. Eli brought the ship down to the ground with a rough thud, the impact shaking the floor beneath them. "We're safe, for now," Eli said, turning to Kaylara, who was already working on the ship's damaged systems. "Don't count on it," she replied. "We don't have much time. They know exactly where we are." Eli's mind raced as he looked out the ship's viewport. The storm outside had passed, but their pursuers wouldn't stop. They were too close now. "We can't stay here," Eli said. "We need to get moving again." Kaylara was silent for a moment, her hands moving across the control panel. "I can fix the power cells, but it will take time. If they send more ships after us," Eli exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. That was close. Kaylara sat back in her seat, her expression thoughtful. "Whoever, or whatever, is tracking us is not from this planet. The signal was too advanced." Eli glanced at the storm outside, still raging in the distance. "You think it's the humans?" Kaylara shook her head. "I don't know, but I can't risk being found. If they know about me, about us, it could be dangerous." Eli frowned, feeling a growing unease in his gut. "What do we do now?" "We wait," Kaylara said quietly. "We wait until the storm passes and figure out our next move. We can't afford to be found." Eli nodded, though doubt lingered in his mind. Whoever was tracking them, they were powerful. And Kaylara seemed certain that they were not human. He wondered who or what could be so determined to find them. Hours passed in the cave, and the storm outside slowly began to die down. The wind's howling faded, and the occasional rumble of distant thunder was the only sound that filled the silence. Eli and Kaylara sat in the ship, each lost in their own thoughts. The sense of danger had not faded. If anything, it had only grown stronger. Finally, Kaylara stood, breaking the silence. "It's time to move," she said. "We can't stay here any longer." Eli nodded, ready to continue their journey. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was clear: their adventure was just beginning. The storm had passed by morning, leaving the sky clear and the air fresh. The cave, though still damp with the remnants of the rain, was safe for now. Eli and Kaylara gathered their supplies and prepared to continue their journey toward the highlands, where Kaylara believed the Harmonic City was hidden. But even as they worked, a nagging feeling lingered in Eli's mind. Something about the storm, the tracking signal, felt off. They weren't alone, and that much was certain. Kaylara had been unusually quiet since they landed. Her usual calm demeanor had shifted to something more guarded, as though she was expecting trouble, and Eli couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. They climbed into the ship, which was now ready for the journey ahead. Eli powered up the engines, and they slowly lifted off from the cave's shelter. As the ship rose, the lush forest spread below them like an emerald sea, but ahead, the mountains loomed in the distance, their peaks shrouded in mist. Kaylara remained at the ship's controls, her eyes scanning the horizon. Eli glanced at her. "You're still thinking about the tracking signal, aren't you?" She nodded without looking at him. "Whoever or whatever it is, they know where I am. They might not know exactly who I am, but they know I'm not from here. If they get too close, I can't guarantee our safety." Eli felt a shiver run down his spine. The urgency in her voice, the way she held herself. He could tell she wasn't just worried. She was preparing for something. He wished he could understand more of her past, but he knew now wasn't the time to push. "We need to get to the Highlands," Kalara said, her voice steady. "It's the only place that might hold the answers I need. The Harmonic City is the key to everything. If we can find it, we'll be safe. I'll be able to finally put an end to this." Eli nodded, though he wasn't entirely sure what she meant. The Harmonic City sounded like a legend, a myth, but Kalara believed in it with all her heart. And for some reason, he couldn't help but believe in it too. They flew on for several hours, the landscape changing beneath them as they left the forest behind and neared the base of the mountains. The air grew thinner, and the temperature dropped as they ascended higher into the peaks. Despite the cold, Eli couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the world below. This planet was unlike anything he had ever seen, wild, beautiful, and ancient. As they neared a narrow pass through the mountains, Kalara's eyes narrowed. "We're not alone." Eli tensed. "What do you mean?" "The signal," she said, her voice tight. "It's getting stronger. They're closer now." Before Eli could respond, a loud crack echoed through the ship, followed by a sudden shudder that rattled every panel. The ship lurched, and Eli fought to steady it. "What the—" Kalara's hands flew over the controls. "We're being locked onto. They found us." Eli's heart raced. Whoever was tracking them had made their move. There was no more hiding. He glanced out of the window, searching the sky, but saw nothing. The clouds had thickened once more, and the visibility was poor. "We need to lose them," Eli said, eyes scanning the instruments. "I can't outrun them, but I can try to hide." Kalara nodded. "Do whatever you can." "I know," Eli interrupted, his jaw clenched. "But we don't have a choice. The Harmonic City. It's too important to let them stop us." Kalara paused, her amber eyes searching his face. "You really believe in this city, don't you?" Eli nodded. "I do. I know you do too. We've come too far to turn back now." For a long moment, Kalara said nothing. Then she turned back to the control panel. "I'll need you to help me. The ship's systems are fried, but I can reroute power from the auxiliary engines to stabilize things for a short while." Eli moved quickly, following her instructions. It wasn't easy, but they worked together like a well-oiled machine, each movement precise and coordinated. With Kalara's knowledge of alien tech and Eli's engineering skills, they made progress quickly. As they worked, Kalara spoke in a low voice, almost to herself. "My people, we lost everything. The war took so much from us. Music, culture, history, everything was destroyed in the name of survival. The Harmonic City is the last piece of what we were. It's a symbol of what we can rebuild." Eli looked up from the controls, his hands still moving over the panel. "You said it holds knowledge, technology. But is it really a city, or is it something else?" Kalara hesitated, her eyes darkening. "It's both. The city was built on the belief that music could heal the wounds of war. It's a place of creation and destruction. If we find it, we'll have the power to change everything. But if the wrong hands get to it, it could mean the end of everything." Eli's mind raced. He understood now. Kalara wasn't just trying to find a forgotten city. She was fighting for her people's future, and a Harmonic City was their last hope. He couldn't let anyone take that from her. "I'll make sure we get there," Eli said, his voice firm. "We'll find it, Kalara. Together." Kalara looked at him, a rare, soft smile touching her lips. "Thank you." Suddenly, the ship's systems came back online, the auxiliary power kicking in. The lights flickered to life, and the hum of the engines filled the air. Kalara quickly checked the readings. "We're ready to go," she said, standing up. "We've bought ourselves some time, but we need to move quickly." Eli nodded and turned back to the controls. The cavern entrance was still clear, but he knew they couldn't stay here long. They had to reach the Harmonic City before their enemies did. As they lifted off, the ship's engines whined in protest, but they held together. The ship shot out of the cavern and into the clear sky above, the mountains fading into the distance. But just as they were gaining altitude, a flash of light streaked across the sky. A signal. "They're here," Kaylura said, her voice cold with determination. "We have to move faster. If they follow us now, it's over." Eli didn't hesitate. He pushed the ship forward, weaving through the mountain passes. Behind them, another flash of light lit up the sky. A warning shot. "Hold on," Eli shouted, gripping the controls. They were running out of time, but he wouldn't give up. He couldn't. They were on the verge of something big, something that could change everything. And he wasn't about to let anyone stop them. The ship tore through the mountain range, the sound of the engines screaming against the wind. Eli's hands gripped the controls, his eyes focused ahead, where the highlands stretched out like a giant barrier between them and the unknown city. Behind them, the unknown pursuers had not given up. Their flashes of energy grew brighter, and each pulse seemed to follow them closer. Kaylura was at the communication panel, her eyes darting back and forth between the data streams. "They're not giving up," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "But they're too slow. We just need a little more time." Eli glanced at her. "How much time?" "Not much," Kaylura said. "We have to get to the city before they do, or everything will be lost." Eli pressed harder on the throttle, sending the ship into a deep dive. The mountain walls on either side seemed to close in on them, but he kept his focus. He couldn't afford to make a mistake now. They were close. So close to reaching the Harmonic City. And Kaylura had already made it clear that this was their last chance. They flew lower, weaving between rock formations, the ship rattling under the pressure. Eli could feel the heat of the atmosphere rising, the air thinning as they approached the center of the highlands. "Straight ahead," Kaylura said, her voice calm but urgent. "There's a valley. The city should be inside it. If we can get in there, we might be able to lose them." Eli nodded. "We'll make it." The valley loomed ahead, surrounded by cliffs that rose like sentinels. Eli could see the faint outlines of structures on the other side. Stone buildings, half buried in the earth, but unmistakably ancient. His pulse quickened. This was it, the Harmonic City. But as they neared the valley, a flash of light erupted from behind them, and the ship shuddered violently. The energy pulse hit them head-on, throwing them off course. The ship veered to the side, and Eli's grip on the controls tightened. "Eli," Kaylura shouted, "get us out of here." With a sharp turn, Eli managed to right the ship, but the damage was already done. They were losing altitude. The ship's lights flickered, and the engine sputtered. A warning light flashed on the dashboard. "We're not going to make it," Eli said, his voice tight with tension. "The engine's gone." "No." Kaylura's voice was full of determination. "We can still reach the city. Trust me." Eli looked at her, his eyes filled with doubt. "We don't have the power." Kaylura's eyes burned with intensity. "We don't need power, Eli. We need to believe." The city was closer now, just a few hundred meters ahead. The air was growing thick with the energy of something ancient, something that resonated deep in Eli's chest. He didn't fully understand what Kaylura meant, but something about the way she spoke made him feel that she was right. With a deep breath, Eli steered the ship toward the valley, trusting Kaylura. The ship's systems were failing, but they were close, so close. The city was ahead, and he could feel it in the air. Just as the ship was about to hit the ground, the energy around them shifted. The valley seemed to come alive, the air humming with a soft vibration. A light appeared in the distance, glowing like the pulse of a heartbeat, and as if guided by some unseen force, the ship was pulled toward it. "Hold on," Eli shouted as the ship's controls became unresponsive. The ship glided downward, a wave of warmth filling the cabin. It was as though the city itself was welcoming them. With a gentle thud, the ship landed in the heart of the Harmonic City. The valley around them was bathed in a soft, golden glow. Tall stone buildings surrounded them, and ancient musical instruments stood at the heart of the city, untouched by time. Everything seemed to pulse with life, a living rhythm that vibrated through the air. Kalara stood up, her eyes wide with awe. "It's real," she whispered. "It's really here." Eli followed her out of the ship, stepping into the valley. The air was thick with energy, ancient, yet somehow alive. The music of the city hummed in his chest, like a song he couldn't quite understand, but that felt somehow familiar. He looked at Kalara, whose face was filled with wonder. "This is what we've been looking for," she said softly. "The harmonic city. This is where it all began." Eli glanced around, taking in the magnificent sight. The city was full of strange, intricate designs, stones that glowed with a soft light, musical instruments that seemed to hum on their own. It was as if the city was alive, breathing with music, and every note seemed to hold a secret. Kalara walked toward a large stone structure at the center of the city. "This is the heart of it," she said. "The place where my people stored their knowledge. The music, it's not just sound. It's a key." Eli followed her, feeling a sense of awe that he couldn't explain. As they approached the center, Kalara placed her hand on the stone. A soft glow spread from her fingers, and the stone responded, vibrating gently. The ground beneath them hummed with a deep, resonating sound, as if the city was awakening. The harmonic city wasn't just a place, Kalara said, her voice filled with emotion. It was a weapon, a power created through music. My people built it to heal, but they also built it to protect themselves from those who would use their knowledge for destruction. We can use it, Eli. We can rebuild. Eli looked at her, his heart filled with understanding. "We're not just saving your people, are we?" Kalara met his gaze. "No, we're saving the galaxy." As the city hummed around them, Eli realized that this was only the beginning. The harmonic city held more than just the key to Kalara's people's past. It held the future, and together, they would protect it. The music of the city filled the air, a song of hope, of rebirth, and of a future yet to be written. The end.